Good afternoon, everybody. It's LinkedIn Tuesdays. We're very glad you're with us. For those of you who are on Zoom, if you have questions throughout this presentation, please just enter the information. Please enter your question into the chat box. And for those of you who are on Facebook, please just enter your question into the comment field. I am monitoring the feed on Facebook. Please note this event will be recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear. Well, good afternoon. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, after a visit to the White House, I started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the DFW area. I facilitate and lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group that meets every Friday morning. I've been doing that since 2007, and I'll tell you about our speaker at the end of this presentation. And I've been a member of the practice interview team since 2017. We have three outstanding speakers who rotate and give of their time every Tuesday to give you the latest, best, and great information on LinkedIn. Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, and Ruth Lipsky. Today's presentation is going to be by Ruth Lipsky. She's going to talk about the special features for job seekers. So Ruth, thank you for being with us, and take it away.
Thank you so much for that great presentation there. I will be sharing my screen with you now. And we're going to be talking about some of the features that LinkedIn has recently set up so that it is helpful to job seekers. LinkedIn recognizes that most people don't use LinkedIn until they actually need a job. Up until then, they might have a LinkedIn profile, but they're probably just doing some minor work on it, maybe accepting people's invitations to connect. Once they need a job, they're finding that LinkedIn as an online resume is an excellent way to get their information out in front of recruiters and other companies, but it's also a great way to do more research into the programs themselves. So we're going to take a look at 4 areas that are particularly important for job seekers to know about. One of them is the new skills assessment. One of them is hashtags. And then the other 2 are going to be with networking. You've probably heard that networking is the key to finding your next job. It certainly is, and LinkedIn gives you a lot of different tools to be able to do that. So we'll take a look at 2 of the main ones that are new. So the skills test itself. If you've been on LinkedIn for long, you know that there's a skills and assessment section of LinkedIn. And being able to place the skills that you feel are important for your next job are going to be placed in this area. But the recruiter and other people don't really know the strength of each one of those skills, particularly on the technical side. So last September, LinkedIn introduced a test that's going to check and see how well you do know that particular set of technical information. So there are 3 categories. There will be the technical tests, those for business skills, and those for design skills. It's been very well received in the recruiting community, and initial results are showing that if you've taken a test and have placed a certificate next to that skill to indicate that you've passed the LinkedIn test, that you're 30% more likely to be hired. Pretty good odds these days. So what's the test? Generally between 15 and 20 questions. They will all be multiple choice, and they will all be on a different subset or a different skill that is part of that test. It is a timed test. You have to complete it in one session. You can't go back, and it moves fast enough that you can't go out and Google answers. You have to have a 70% or above in order to pass the test, and then you're awarded a badge. And the badge, they call it a badge, but it really looks more like a clipboard, doesn't it? It's got the check mark right next to it. If you hover over it with your cursor, it tells you what that is, that you passed a test. But you can add it to your profile that you passed the test. You don't have to though. Can't imagine why you take the test if you don't want to showcase it though. If you do not pass the test, it doesn't show up anywhere. You don't have to worry about that coming up and anybody knowing that you took the test and didn't pass. This badge is only good for 12 months. The idea is that the material changes so much in the space of a year that they would want you to retake the test to be able to pick up different versions, new features, new shortcuts that might be available for that type of test. You can take the assessment more than one time, but if you have not passed it, you have to wait 3 months before you can retake it. If you do not pass it 2 times in a row, then you're never able to retake the test. Those are the rules right now, but remember this has only been out there for a couple of months now, and LinkedIn is still taking a look at things. By the way, those multiple choice questions, they change frequently. So if you did take the test and you took a screenshot of each one of those questions, those are probably not the questions that are going to show up in another 3 months. Here are the technical skills that have a test associated with them. If you have any of these as a skill in your skill and endorsement area, then you'll have a little note underneath your skill and assessment that says take a quiz. The business skills are mostly the Microsoft features, although it does have Adobe Acrobat and QuickBooks. But if you say that you are skilled in Excel or in PowerPoint, it's kind of nice to be able to prove it, because that badge next to it is going to put you above people who have not taken that test, because you don't know what the true skill assessment is for that. And the design skills that have an assessment associated with them. LinkedIn is considering adding some additional tests, but they have decided that they're going to start with these because they seem to be the skills that are needed more often than not these days. There will always be more that are possible. So watch and see if you have something come up on your LinkedIn that says that you have a skill that has a test associated with it. Go ahead and read up a little bit about it beforehand and then take it and put your badge out there. Now, hashtags have been around for a while, but they've never had the hashtag associated with them. They used to be called communities, but about 2018, LinkedIn decided that communities was an old-fashioned term when the hashtag, which is used in so many other areas of social media, really means the same thing. So they made that adjustment. It does allow you to indicate that you're interested in subject material that might not necessarily be part of what your particular professional brand is. And it allows you to make it more discoverable when you're connecting with other members, when you're posting information on the home page. You do want to keep all your hashtags work appropriate, and LinkedIn does have the right, and they will actually take out hashtags if they don't think that it's appropriate for the community that they're serving. If you're interested in hashtags for a certain subject, you start on the search bar, which is on every tab except the job tab, and start typing in hashtag and then what you're interested in. Leadership is one of the biggest ones. Hashtag management also has a huge following. There could be several that are very similar in nature. Take a look at each one of the hashtags that come up and find the one that seems to fit you best. Quite often it's going to be the one that has the most number of people who are following that page. You're going to use hashtags in posts. Right now, when you are posting something on LinkedIn from the home page, you have the choice of having it appear simply to your connections or to the community at large. Being able to post it into one of the hashtags brings it further up the list for people who have that hashtag in common with you. So if you're posting something to the community at large, but you don't have many connections, then it's probably going to show up way down on the home page and people aren't going to be able to read your post as easily because it's disappeared so far down. Being able to use a hashtag will keep that note up toward the top of people's pages, and it'll be more readable to them all. Limit yourself to 5 hashtags. 3 is generally enough. If you've got a long post, 5 might be more appropriate. And LinkedIn is going to be offering some suggestions based on the information that you are typing, which is nice. You don't need to take those suggestions. Don't add them if you don't think it's appropriate, but it does give you a wider audience. Now, in your profile page itself, you've got an About section that is huge. It's got 2,000 characters in it, remember? And you can place some hashtags in that section. Don't put it in the headline because then the recruiters aren't going to be able to sort on it. It does distort the sort function for the recruiters using LinkedIn Recruiter. But having it in your profile is going to be able to highlight the areas and the interests that you have. Don't use too many of them. You don't want to put too many hashtags one right after another unless it seems appropriate to do so. If you're indicating that you have an interest in a subject, once per paragraph is generally enough. One of the more frequently used hashtags is ONO, which means open to new opportunities. You're going to want to put that toward the bottom of your About section. Never put open to new opportunities in the headline area, because that's an area where you're going to be putting in the titles that you're interested in and some of the skills that make you particularly effective for those jobs. Networking with college connections. Anytime you can network on LinkedIn, it's going to be a plus. But being able to find the right people that are going to give you entry into an organization can be somewhat tricky. Fortunately, LinkedIn has come up with some really good ideas on how to find college connections and how to find people within a company that might be worthwhile. So let's switch out and go into LinkedIn itself so that we can walk through these, because it'll be a little bit easier to ensure that we're all looking at the same information. So here we've got my LinkedIn page. We were talking about hashtags. Notice that I did put some hashtags through here. My first sentence on my LinkedIn profile is extensive experience in business continuity, disaster recovery, and crisis management. And then I have 2 hashtags, coronavirus and hashtag work from home.
Ruth, could you do a Control Plus so you sort of spread your profile out a little bit? It makes everything a little bit bigger.
Control Plus, really? Did that work?
No, it didn't do anything. Are you on a Mac by any chance?
Nope.
No PC? Oh, no.
Is that better?
No, take it back full screen, like hit the big box. And you can, if you hit Control and then the plus key, it doesn't make the screen bigger. Zoom it in a little bit. There you go.
That do it?
Do it one more time. There we go. Okay.
Hey, learn something new. All right. If you feel that you can be of assistance to a company that is trying to recover from this massive economic shutdown that we've had, you probably need that statement first thing in your About section. People are going to start hiring. Companies are going to start coming back. There are going to be a lot of different jobs that they're going to need, but they're probably going to give some preference to people who have the flexibility, the adaptability, the activities in their background that have allowed them to work in a crisis situation before. So putting some information like this front and center in the About can help you come to the top of the list of people who are recruiters and looking for folks. Notice that I also have hashtags other places at the end of paragraphs that are going to highlight the ability to tell what I've been talking about. The About section does not support smart links, so you can't actually click on any of the hashtags in order to go to the hashtag page. But while we're on hashtags, let's go ahead and say that hashtag leadership. You can see that we've got leadership, leadership development, training, coaching, consulting, tips, coaching, skills. We have a lot of different activities that are associated with leadership. Taking a look at each one of them will take you to a page that deals simply with that community. So this page is only for the hashtag leadership. There are 2 million people following it. There's a fair number of folks, so that anytime that you add that to your post, it will be posted to 2,725 odd thousand people that will be able to see what you are saying. Everything on this page has a hashtag leadership associated with it, and all of this material should have something to do with that as either a function, a skill, an activity. So you can use more than one hashtag, and if you wanted to use more than one of the leadership hashtags, you could, but quite often they're going to overlap. Hashtags will also show up on your home page. So on the left-hand side, it will show what hashtags you've been using recently. It'll show the hashtags you're following. And this Discover More feature is a nice one, because now that LinkedIn knows that you're interested in hashtags and they know that you are looking for further hashtags, it's going to open up a page that is going to provide more hashtags that could be of interest to you. It's not doing it right now, but take my word, that's where it's going to be. Let's take a look at the skills section. Down toward the bottom of your profile, you'll be able to see that in your skills and endorsements section, you'll be able to take a skill quiz, and it can only be for one of the skills that LinkedIn has already identified. So if you don't have a skill in the skill and endorsement section that LinkedIn has developed a test for, then you're not going to see this box right here. Don't worry if it's not there, it just means that you haven't identified that as a skill. Well, let's go up and talk about how we're going to network into colleges. If we could, let's pick out from the chat box, somebody type in a university or a college name that they want to check out. Illinois State, first one up. So as you're typing in Illinois State, you can see that that's probably the right one. It's got the logo next to it. It tells me it is a school. If you went to that school, you probably recognize it immediately. And this is the LinkedIn page for Illinois State. If you went to it and you have that in your education section, then LinkedIn will automatically have added this to your interest area. If you have a friend, a spouse, a child who went there, you probably don't have it in your interest section, but they allow you to add that in if you feel that you have some type of an interest in that, or if you've been paying tuition to it. On this page, you've got more information about the school, and what we're interested in is the alumni. So if you click on the alumni tab, it'll tell you that there are 141,367 people who have graduated in the last 120 years who have LinkedIn profiles. From here, we can do a couple different sorts, and we're going to first open this up a little bit more. But if you're looking for a particular area of the country, you can come through and say, maybe I'm only interested in people who graduated from this school who are working in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That will bring you to 1,927 people. But on the next set over here, where they work, if you decide that you want to be looking for a job in Amazon, you might want to look more closely at the 153 people who graduated from your university that are currently working at Amazon, so that you can connect with them and start talking to them about how they like it there, how they interviewed, what tips they have for you. As you move through, there's a previous and a next feature. So let's go into the next. What they do. This is the department that they will work in when they're in a company. So if you are in sales and you want to find out where everybody else is that is working in sales, that graduated from this university, you can take a look at that. So let's do that. Let's go back to the previous and say that we're interested in people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Click on that. So that's one of our sorts now. And now we're looking at this number of alumni. We're going to go into the next feature and say, of that number, 226 are in the sales group. We're going to take a look at those. We can still see where they work. And if we decide that maybe McKesson is the company that we're most interested in, at the bottom, you will see a tile of the people who fit your sorts. So now we've got the people who are graduates of the university, who are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and who work at McKesson. Being able to connect with people is fairly straightforward. You're going to want to go onto the profile page in order to see a little bit more about this person, to see if there's something that you want to connect with them on. But you can use the blue connect button that should be right up here. If it's not here, then it's going to be over in this section as one of the features in the drop down. But a blue connect button will always allow you to personalize the message. And when you've gone to this much trouble, you need to be able to personalize the message by saying, I also went to this school. I am interested in McKesson as a place to work. I see you are also in sales. Would love to know how more about your interview process, about jobs you may have open, how you like it there, whatever you feel is going to be appropriate to start a conversation. And within your connection, you really just want to start the conversation. If they reply to you with an acceptance, you can start more of a conversation with them through the message feature, which for connections is going to be free for you. So now we've got people in sales at McKesson in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but we still have another next to take a look at. So if you click the next, it will give you more information about what they do, what they studied when they were in school. Nice thing to be able to look at there if you want to connect on that. But if we hit the next again, it will also tell you what skills they have in their LinkedIn skills and endorsement area. And if you have connections that are first or second degree, it will show up right here. And that's sometimes an easier way to find people, because if you already have a first degree connection, nice to be able to talk to them. If you have a second degree connection, then it's the opportunity to start out your connection request. We have similar connections within LinkedIn. We'd love to talk, and we are both graduates of Illinois State University. We'd love to talk with you about the company. I have these skills. Would love to be part of the company. Let's talk. So being able to get a little bit more information about people based on what school you went to is going to be a plus. And schools are one of the best ways to network, because people who graduated or even went and didn't graduate to a school generally take care of their own. Some areas have a stronger alumni program than others, but most colleges are very comfortable with somebody graduated from the same school. They must be good people, must have something in common. Okay on that one? All right. Let's take a look then at a company that you might want to be part of. So in the chat box, once again, somebody give me the name of a company that they'd like to explore in a little bit more detail. Verizon, let's take it. Typing in the name here is going to give you the drop box so that you can take a look at people, at jobs, but we're going to go into the company itself. Anytime you're interested in joining a company, you're going to want to follow that company's LinkedIn page so that it drops into your interest section. Recruiters can tell if you're following their company, and that's one of the first sorts that recruiters can do on a search. So if they type in a company, a title, a geographic location, and some skills, they're going to get several thousand people listed that have that set of qualifications. One of their first sorts is, I only want to look at people who have my company in their interest area. They can also sort on, I only want people who are open to new opportunities. And they can sort by those two features at the same time. So people who are open to new opportunities and have my company in their interest area, that'll be a real subset of the people who they are originally looking at, and makes it a little bit easier to move forward on their request for interviews. So on here, if you want to work for Verizon, let's follow them. It can sometimes take a couple hours to get that dropped into your interest area. LinkedIn isn't always quick on that. But here again, you've got information over on this tab that gives you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about Verizon. Instead of alumni, we're going to be looking at people. And in this case, we're going to be looking at the 134,517 employees who currently work at Verizon. Where do they live? And now, instead of on the university page, it showed what company they were in. Here, they're talking about what school they studied at. So if you wanted to know if somebody here went to Illinois, well, the list doesn't go down far enough. But if we were at Illinois, $512 people went to Illinois State, and you could start sorting from there. But in this case, we're going to start from scratch, and we're going to say, I'm only interested in people who are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Here we go. And in this case, we're going to go into the next area because we're going to take a look at what departments these people are in. And you can go into the department and start sorting it down. But let's take a look at recruiters. So let's find everybody in the Dallas office that has recruiter in their title or who has ever held the title of recruiter. So there are 44 employees. Now we can go down to the bottom and we can see their titles. If they have recruiter in their title right now, that's nice. Sometimes, and talent acquisition is going to be the same thing. So putting in recruiter will also bring up talent acquisition. You don't need to put those in as two separate searches. Looking through the recruiters, you're going to want to stay away from people who are campus recruiters unless you're starting out from a campus. You're going to be taking a look at possibly if you have a technical background, maybe you want to be looking for somebody who's got technical capabilities. Being able to look at the people who are available here, and there are 44 of them, so that might be a lot to look at, but if you're in the information services group or the information technology, this might be the person to be looking at. Check their profile, connect with them. When you're walking into a company and you're trying to find a recruiter to connect to, you probably want to send out 3 connection notices with a personalized message that would be able to identify why you want to work at that company, what your skills are, and a request for, would love to talk with you about how I fit into this role. If you have a job that you have applied to, that's a good introduction statement also for any recruiter. So your connection request could start out, I've applied for, and then be very specific about the job because I got a whole bunch of them out there, and say, would love to talk with you about the skills that I have, such as, or my experience in, if you think that's going to be a better selling point, and then say, would love to schedule time to talk. In the meantime, let's connect. So being able to find the people that are going to be helpful are going to be good. Your other option, though, is instead of recruiters, you might want the name of the hiring manager. So if we wanted to talk about the director of sales, 280 people in the Dallas office are directors of sales. Wow, that was more than I expected. Yep, they got plenty of them. Maybe instead of director of sales, let's go senior vice president of sales. All right, that gets a little bit closer, 91. Still a lot, you might want to be able to sort it down a little bit more, but going through and taking a look at the profile to find out a little bit more about what type of sales they do, if it's a possibility that the job that you're interested in is indeed in that person's organization, you can send them a note. I've applied for this job, be specific about it. It looks like it may report to you. Would love to talk to you about my skills in. And if it's not in your area, would you mind letting me know who does have this role open? So you can ask for that type of information, but anytime you can connect with people within an organization, LinkedIn is going to reward you. So that when a recruiter is doing a search for title, geographic location, skills, if you know people in that company, you're going to show that you've got first degree connections. That's going to bring you up higher in the recruiter's sort when they're using LinkedIn Recruiter. And anytime you can move up in any way at all, it's going to be to your advantage, because the recruiter is going to look probably at the first couple pages of results, but not at everything. Once again, you can use the next in order to take a look a little bit more carefully about what they're doing, what they studied, and how you're connected. In this case, I've got 25 people who are second degree connections, but I don't have anybody who's a first degree connection. Probably would want to take a look at those 25 and see if there's anyone in these tiles that I would want to connect with a little bit more closely in order to find the information that I want or to be able to get closer to the hiring manager. Questions on that? Jeff, anything in chat on that one?
No, nothing in the chat box.
Okay. That's it. Questions that you've got. Did you know about that networking feature? Because it is fairly new and I'm not sure everybody has seen it yet.
That's a really good tool. I mean,
Okay, first time for a couple folks. Excellent. Good to be able to find. LinkedIn is all about networking and being able to find people who are in a similar industry to you, finding people who have similar job titles. The important thing on LinkedIn is to remember that this is not friends and family. If you don't know people, it's still okay to shake their hand and connect with them on LinkedIn. It would be the same as if you are at a convention and you meet people, you exchange cards and keep them around in case you need them. But being able to find people who could be of assistance to you in finding your next job at other companies don't have to be coworkers, don't have to be friends. They can be people who have similar jobs that you can start up a conversation with. And a lot of folks are willing to give advice. So being able to connect with someone and say, I've got an interview that I think is being scheduled. Do you have any advice on how to answer questions? People
right.
like giving advice.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that anybody who tries to connect with me, if you don't send me a personal note, I don't know why we should connect. So take that time to send a personal note. And even on your cell phone, if you're using the LinkedIn app on your cell phone, click on the little three dots next to the connect or the more button, and it'll open up a new screen that says personalized invite. So always send that personal invitation. Otherwise, why should somebody connect to you if you don't, to give them a good reason? And leverage your alumni. It's a great opportunity.
All right. Let's talk about one more feature that has come up just recently. And it's the open to work. LinkedIn is trying to make this more visible so that if you've created the section on this top page that says, I'm willing to look for another job, you're allowed to have 5 titles. And these titles are going to be important because LinkedIn has standardized the title names. You can't just type in anything here. You know that you have to have something that they have already preordained as a legitimate job title. Recruiters use these titles. They use these exact titles. When a recruiter is looking on LinkedIn, they are generally not going to be looking for a company name or a company title. They're going to be utilizing what LinkedIn has standardized so that they can get the widest possible group of people to come. So having your 5 titles in here is going to allow you to be more searchable. Job locations, you can add those. A metroplex is always going to be better than a single city. So always have a metroplex there, even if you don't want to work every place in that metroplex, but then you can have another city that would indicate what part of the metroplex you actually are in, but the metroplex is going to bring you up higher in a search. Your start date, the types of jobs, but this new feature through here, share with LinkedIn members, you've got 2 choices. You can either tell everybody that you're looking for a job, which is generally the best way, because if you're networking and you're asking people to take a look at your profile and add more endorsements or write a recommendation, you want them to know that you truly are looking for a job. This feature where it says share with recruiters only, that's okay if you're already working and you don't want everybody to know that you're looking. But if you have this open to all LinkedIn members, it will add the frame to your picture. And it'll indicate very quickly, very easily that you are looking for another job, that you're open to additional opportunities. LinkedIn normally takes a couple months to roll this out. It looks like it came into the Dallas-Fort Worth area about 2 weeks ago. If you don't have it already, then you should be expecting it in the next month or so.
Also, just be aware, when you add that frame, depending on how close your picture is, you may need to back your picture up a little bit so that it fits with the green banner around the bottom of it. So, just don't slap it on and go. Take a look and see, make sure your face is still visible, that, in case, because you can easily modify that now if you need to zoom out a little bit so we can see you.
Okay. Anybody have questions on any of the features on LinkedIn that they want to know a little bit more about?
Nothing, nobody's asked any questions, but there is one other brand new feature that I just read about last week, that if you're on your mobile device, so if you're accessing the LinkedIn profile via your mobile device, you can now add your name. You can say your name. You can, if you have a hard to pronounce name, you can record your name so that people will understand how to say it correctly. It can be up to 10 seconds. Like I said, you can only do it on an Android or iPhone device. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't checked mine to see if it does that yet. But if you have a hard to pronounce voice, you may want to do that. And then what will happen is right next to your name, you'll see a little speaker will pop up, and people can click on that and find and hear how to pronounce your name. So that may be something you want to try to do.
Okay, and if you want a copy of the slides, I have added that into the chat feature. Take a look at the bottom of it, and you'll see that you've got a file that you can download from there if you wish.
All right, anybody else have any questions or comments? All right,
Well, there's a question here. Do you recommend taking LinkedIn course? Is that LinkedIn Learning, Sarah? The LinkedIn Learning have a lot of excellent classes. So if you have access to that, then yes. You can only get that if you have the premium feature. But it is worthwhile if you're looking to pick up some skills. It's got technical skills and it also has some people skills. It's got some interviewing skills. So being able to take a look at those could be worthwhile. If you have not tried LinkedIn Premium, you can have a 30-day free look, in which case check out that library of classes and see if there are any there.
There's also one more option. LinkedIn Learning is lynda.com. If you have a public library card, I know in the city of Dallas, I have a library card. Lynda.com is one of the options that I can access for free. So just know that there's a lot of great stuff through your public library. Check that out. So you don't necessarily have to buy the premium version. You take the LinkedIn Learning class, you can take the lynda.com class, same thing as learning.com or linkedin.com, and then you can go take the test if you want.
Oh, so Houston Public Library is free to anybody? That's good to know. Might need to check that one out too. One of the more popular classes out there is being able to do your interviews. So being able to look in more detail on that would be a positive thing. That seems to be the area that most people struggle with. So if you're going to be trying for some additional classes, there are classes on interviewing over Zoom. Being able to look more carefully at those will be good.
Great. All right. Let's see. I have on Facebook. Somebody said, "Can you put the slides in here also?" We can't add a file on Facebook, but if you'd like to have the slides, send me an email to webmaster@careerdfw.org. Webmaster@careerdfw.org, and just let me know you want the slides from today's presentations, and I will be glad to attach them and send them back to you.
Let's take a look at this one other area. If you're in the Jobs tab, this is probably going to look familiar to you where you've got jobs coming towards you. But in this section here, if you click on the More button, it will take you to an interview prep area, which is free. And it will give you this 26 common questions that come up in interviews. It will give you an overview as to why it's asked. It'll give you a video of somebody answering the question well and gives you some tips. So if you want to take a look at what LinkedIn thinks are good interview answers, this is a good place to go, and it is free.
Okay, great. Thank you very, very much. All right, let's see here. Let me grab the screen back. All right, so Ruth, thank you very much for your time. Great presentation, great information. A lot of people don't know about the way you can dive into, colleges and using, leveraging that alumni and people who already work at a company. It's great stuff. Got a question for those people who are on Zoom right now. If you open up your participant box, do you know somebody who lives outside the DFW area who is currently unemployed? If you do, click yes. If you don't, click no. So it's always interesting. I like to find out if people can get that information. A couple people on Facebook are saying yes. All right, well, the reason I asked that question is because please let people know, let anybody know who's unemployed about all the free training that Career DFW and Career USA is putting on each week. Tomorrow, there's 2 different sessions going on. Tomorrow from 10 till noon, I'll be doing a presentation about what I've learned about your job search that you may not know. I'm giving this presentation as a senior source, but anybody's invited to come. The information is on the careerdfw.org calendar. And tomorrow at 1 o'clock, as we do every Wednesday, we'll be interviewing Wednesday. We've completed our 13 sessions, 13-part program on interviewing. So for the next 3 weeks, we're going to have 3 different speakers giving a little bit different kind of take on interviewing. So this Wednesday, Jack Bick, who will be talking about interviewing for maximum conversation. And then back in August, we'll start over again with that 13-step program. On Thursday, join us for Effective Resumes. So you can submit a resume if you'd like to do that. And we'll be glad to take a look. You're welcome. If you do submit a resume, if you want to change your header information to Tom Cruise or Angelina Jolie or Mickey Mouse, whatever, so that we're not sharing your public information, that's fine. And then this Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, our speaker is going to talk about networking the old-fashioned way. So we just talked about today how to network high-tech using LinkedIn. He's going to talk about the old-fashioned way. You can join us on Zoom or on Facebook, and all the information is on the CareerFW calendar. Just as a reminder, these sessions have been recorded and will be on the CareerFW Facebook page, and you can go back and view it immediately as soon as we log off. And later this afternoon, I'll load it up and it'll be on the Career USA YouTube channel. And all that stuff is there and it's all available for you to look at. If you're on the Facebook page, it looks something like this without all the arrows. But if you click on, hopefully where the red arrow is, you'll click on like. And if you do that, every time we go live, your phone will rattle or something will alert you and tell you that CareerFW is currently live on Facebook. If you click on the green arrow where it says more, up will pop that window that's just above the green arrow, and where you see the blue arrow where it says videos, that's where you'll find all the videos, and they're all grouped together by topics. So you can see all the interviewing ones together, all the LinkedIn seminars together. It'll be easy if you want to go back and review any of the prior sessions, especially because we have different speakers talking about the same subjects. It's really good information. If you're on the YouTube channel, if you go to Career USA, the Career USA YouTube channel, if you click on playlist where the blue arrow is, you will then, up will come the created playlist that I've put together, which is the same way, just a little file cabinet where everything's located. And where the red arrow is, if you click on view full playlist, you'll be able to see all the events that are loaded. So just a reminder, CareerFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Ruth and everybody, including myself, we're all volunteers. We're all here to help you get your next great opportunity. We have no full or part-time employees. We all survive on donations to keep it going. Please consider making another donation when you get your next opportunity. And if your company offers matching funds, please allow the company to double and match. And if you don't see us listed on the list, please contact me and I will be glad to get us at it. So Ruth, once again, thank you very much for your time. For everybody else, thank you very much for joining us today. Have a great rest of the afternoon. Don't hang outside too much because you'll melt. And we'll see everybody hopefully tomorrow for Interviewing Wednesdays.